Oh no, Shiny Kirito's getting all the vajayjay. Real Kirito may be in trouble. Can you say goodbye, Asuna? So what's up guys, Fox in here. Of course I'm just joking around, but I'm sure you're gonna hear those comments from some other places. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this week's SAO Alicization episode. And definitely be sure to subscribe for these weekly SAO breakdowns. That is from a hardcore SAO fan. At the start of this, you have the blonde Yu-Gi-Oh! All hot and sweaty. You got him reflecting on what exactly makes the elite student so powerful, which goes back to this image/imagination/incarnation system, which boils down to some infusion of a power boost from the self-pride. Poor Yu-Gi-Oh! Was really just struggling to find his own special something. I mean, forget about him not being a noble. He was born in the middle of nowhere. Not to mention the previous job title, Wood Chipper. But let's stop right here, don't discount that. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Did chop down that giant demon log. That's gotta count for something, especially in this world. But forget about all of that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually has the best motivation of them all, which is a hot-ass little blonde girl. Let's hope nobody heard me saying that. But honestly, a girl's gotta be the strongest motivation out there. Whether that actually helps you is actually a double-edged sword. Then for the wonderful piece of ass nobles. Once again, they're back with all this crap talking. Right here, do notice her upgraded attire. Just like Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh!, they picked out their own colors. How fitting, mustard and ketchup. Great way to show off how much of a sausage they truly are. And about their teasing, or really bullying at this point. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks that this poor mofo grew up super poor, without the world bending over at his birth. I mean really, what the hell? Do these a-holes really have nothing better to do? I mentioned last time that they have no Twitter, no YouTube in the underworld, but seriously, find a new hobby. I'm sure there's some poor bum in the street you could kick, or some kitties you could abuse. Oh sorry, that's next on their list. As for Yu-Gi-Oh! Here, I do like how extra formal he got when accepting their challenge. I'm not sure if the subtitles got this. Oh, you're just offering to teach me? Perfect. Time for me to legally give you an ass whooping. And then the mustard guy here. Funny how easy it is to piss him off. What, you're just offering some training, then you get mad when Yu-Gi-Oh! Accepts? I'm thinking, you're really lucky to be teamed up with the Red Ranger Noble here. Otherwise, I doubt you would have made it this far solo. Anyway, getting into their little sparring match. No surprise at all to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Having the upper hand. The thing is, these guys are the first and second seed, but as expected, this corrupt skull gives the nobles an easier time. Although let me actually be fair to the other side. Let's not count out Mr. Yellow here. What's his secret superpower? He's rich. He's got access to that asshole-ish power boost, which is really just a pride of looking down on others. How crappy can you be? And to be honest, it was a little too on the nose with the dark color. Does this really just suggest all nobles are dark and purple deep down? Perhaps. The dude even doubled down by wanting to severely injure Yu-Gi-Oh! With that strike. And about Yu-Gi-Oh!'s little win here, let me actually explain this in detail. It does turn out that the yellow noble is in fact stronger physically than Yu-Gi-Oh! Just due to that horrible noble pride of his. However, let's not forget, strength isn't everything. Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually managed to chain 2 sword skills here, on instinct, which allowed him to get the upper hand. And yeah, sure buddy, a draw. Again with the draw BS. That messy blonde dude just saved his buddy from Yu-Gi-Oh!'s beatdown. Keep in mind this was Yu-Gi-Oh! After a full day of training. In other words, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was already tired when he took the noble on. Let's go ahead and get a rematch tomorrow. And I just gotta love Yu-Gi-Oh! Firing back here. Oh, you wanna teach me a lesson? How about lining up right now? Point your ass this way, cause you're next in line to get spanked by my wooden sword. And once again, you have the noble leader breaking down, just revealing his true hatred. This guy tries to act like he's better than the yellow lapdog, but it's getting even more clear that that's not the case at all. Next up, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Kirito's tea party 3 days later. Now you're getting a taste of the taboo index talk. Because really, a lot of the previous inner discussions about this from the light novel have been skipped over until now. The most important part here is actually Kirito's line. Stay cool, bro. Naturally, this becomes Yu-Gi-Oh!'s most infamous line. By the way, you gotta love Kirito's voice change here. His ass was trying to goof off again, which is pretty much admitting he knows that he's in the wrong. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Buddy, be sure to wake me up at 11 AM sharp, like the good human alarm clock you are. I got a feeling that Kirito's gonna get in trouble when he has to get a damn job. Hey Asuna, can you call me at 7 AM and wake me up daily? Not that Asuna would mind. And while you're at it, just go into work for me. As for Yu-Gi-Oh! Being troubled at nighttime, Yu-Gi-Oh! Right here was reflecting over the taboo index. Perhaps the nobles were obeying it, but it was really only seen as something annoying. To be honest, he wasn't too far off. I'm gonna have a full video on the taboo index later on. Let me just mention that it really depends on the mindset of the person. Eiho nobles like the condiment guys constantly try to find loopholes in the taboo index, which means that pretty much anything is perfectly fair game as long as it's not forbidden. It almost sounds like something similar to the stereotypical mindset you hear of some rich folks. Thankfully, I've only come across this stuff briefly in real life. Hopefully you haven't come across this. Anyway, the other part here is Yu-Gi-Oh's own connection to the taboo index. Not mentioned here is that someone like Yu-Gi-Oh couldn't possibly even think about challenging the taboo index, not at all. Even thinking about something like this was getting his eyes so slightly burning. That's the reason you saw Yu-Gi-Oh covering his face here. This scene is extra important since it's really Yu-Gi-Oh starting to question everything, especially with what happened to poor Alice in mind. Next up, Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito's picnic with the lovely Tisa and Roni. Major change here with Yu-Gi-Oh looking at a frog instead of a snake. By the way, I am loving the golden fox scene here, especially the small ones. Right here, you do get a little bit more information about Tisa and the nobles. Tisa does belong to the noble family, although she's basically at the bottom of the nobles. More interesting is the part about the noble families ranked 4th and higher. They have the special judicial authority. This involves the authority to pass judgment on those below them. But there's a lot more here that they don't mention. I'm gonna come back to this and go over the skip details. Meanwhile, at the same time, Kirito is only focused on discussing the styles with his little sword apprentice, as he should be. And talking about Tisa and Roni, the anime actually skipped over how they actually got chosen for Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh. It turns out that elite students like Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito could actually pick their new students. However, these two actually chose not to. Both of them decided that whichever 2 students didn't get picked would be randomly assigned to them. And that's how they got Tisa and Roni. It was totally random, and they were surprised that they both got female students. Tisa and Roni were likely not picked since they were at the bottom of the noble families. Anyway, getting into Roni and Tisa's request regarding the abused girl, and I really wish they had shown a scene of her in the anime. Turns out, what a surprise. The yellow noble is mistreating his assigned female student. Nobles and abuse go so well together, like peanut butter and jelly. Do notice a key takeaway here from Kirito regarding not doing certain things even if allowed by the law, and at the same time not blindly following just because it is a law. Funny cause you see or hear about this countless times throughout the year in the US. Let me know if it's the same in your country. Next up, Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito's lovely visit to the noble hellhole. As always, that green haired guy was super pissed. This guy is starting to remind me of Bakugo's temper. Either way, the truth is clear as day. This gray haired dude is pretty disgusting. Oh sure, my muscles were aching, I'm just gonna have my student pretty much strip and massage my ass. But it's fine, it's not illegal. Oh, and by the way, that's Yu-Gi-Oh's fault. Guys like this just make me wanna throw up. I do like the added scene of Yu-Gi-Oh instinctively reaching for his weapon, just from his anger alone. The novel only mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh thinking about getting his blade. And let me just clarify that the blonde guy intentionally let his slimy buddy do that here, just to hope that Yu-Gi-Oh would hear about it then confront them about it later. They previously failed to break down Kirito, so they turned their attention onto Yu-Gi-Oh. In other words, their plan worked perfectly. Kirito actually saw through them and realized what they were going for. Better not fall victim to their little plan, especially when it's much too obvious. As for a skip detail here, the nobles in the light novel brought up Yu-Gi-Oh's mentor that also made Yu-Gi-Oh strip, so it should be totally fine, same thing really. That actually did happen, although Yu-Gi-Oh's mentor was examining Yu-Gi-Oh's body build before training. Not to mention that it was a guy seeing a guy's body. Next up, Yu-Gi-Oh and Tisa's spicy ending scene. Poor Yu-Gi-Oh still blaming himself for what the Eiho nobles were doing. Unfortunately, you do have a girl being harassed by this, but the blame doesn't belong to him. Tisa then is pretty revealing about the noble situation, which is her own fear of having to marry a bastard douchebag, like the lovely one seen in this episode. Once again, I gotta give huge credit to the anime for improving the source material so freaking much. This scene was a few times better than the novel. It got me tearing up for multiple reasons. Plus, they even made the episode extra long so they could fit this touching scene in. Yes, Tisa is totally into Yu-Gi-Oh. I got a feeling that some people will misinterpret this scene, especially the haters. Oh, this is just Kirito's twin building his own harem now. Sure, let's just totally ignore the context and the times these people live in. Unfortunately, it does suck for Tisa. Yu-Gi-Oh right now has his heart set on a different blonde girl. And next episode is gonna be the big one. I expect the internet to be lit on fire, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, getting into the highlights of stuff skipped over, let's actually go back to the talk of the nobles. So in this world, any noble that's class 4 or above has complete judgment over anyone below them. Which is pretty interesting because anyone in the 4th class or above doesn't have to work at all, they're really just wealthy by default. And you might be wondering why. Tisa actually briefly mentions a reason. In case there's ever a war, the nobles are the ones that's supposed to step up and fight. So here's some of the skip detail from the novel. It turns out that there's this sort of prophecy that eventually the dark forces will try to invade the human land. In return for enjoying this wealthy lifestyle and not working, the nobles are given this task to improve their swordsmanship, study the sacred arts, and basically improve themselves as much as possible, becoming integrity knights if possible. That right there would have been the ideal scenario. The problem with that is that in the past about 400 years, so far there's been no invasion from the Dark Army. Part of that is actually thanks to the integrity knights that are standby on the mountains. In other words, for hundreds of years, the nobles have been enjoying this rich lifestyle without pretty much doing anything. And it turns out that some of them had been abusing their power, unsurprisingly. The last thing skipped over worth mentioning is actually something regarding Tise and Yujio's scene. Right here, Yujio reflected back to his own life. He thought back to his poor upbringing, being born as a third son. Looking back at it now, Yujio had been so fortunate. With that sacred task assigned to him, he wouldn't have even been permitted to marry. He would have just grown old without a partner. After meeting Kirito, his life had changed so much, for the better. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up this week's breakdown. Definitely like and subscribe so you don't miss out videos from a hardcore SAO fan. I got several videos planned on this whole SAO-licization world. Anyway, more important, let me hear from you now. How much did you enjoy this Yujio-focused episode? And what do you think about Yujio and Tise's situation? Should Yujio just forget about the blonde and go for the redhead? And if you have read the novels, are you ready for next week? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, you could enjoy juicy SAO videos every week. Definitely check out my in-depth Season 3 opening breakdown if you haven't. And what's this about SAO ending soon? Find out the details. Don't forget, weekly Attack on Titan videos too, so hit bell notifications, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.